What's happening, Internet? Sean here, Mahalo.com. Now, in the previous step, we talked about the hardware we like to install on our computer to make it run faster. But in this step, I'm going to show you some really cool best practices so you don't damage your computer when you open up the case to add your new cool hardware. And besides that, what the heck is this thing? Alright guys, so now to open up our case, to get inside our computer, generally you'll have 4 screws or 6 screws on the back to open up your case. And in this case, no pun intended, we're lucky enough to have thumb screws, which are super awesome. So to open this case, just use these thumb screws, flip it on its side, pop open the case. More times than not, these guys will just slide one way because they'll have a, more times than not, a track here and a track here. And there we go. Actually, this guy just rests on top, and a track, actually these 3 spots right here. Now, when we talk about speeding up our computer, one thing I'd like to cover is how dirty our computer is. Because a lot of times, if your computer's gunked up and there's tons of just gunk on your fans and your power supply is gunked up, if the airflow is sincerely restricted to your computer, that can actually slow it down. Because if your processor isn't getting as cool as it should, it won't perform as well as it should. So first off, got a can of air here, just to blow out all the dust and stuff like that and flare up my allergies, just something kind of cool. And again, one more thing before I go any farther. I have this wrist strap, and this is an ESD strap connected to an ESD mat, which is a electrostatic discharge mat wrist strap. And the mat is attached to a ground I have. So this is so when I'm using my computer, when I'm working on my computer, I don't shock any of the parts that might break. So for instance, like a processor or a RAM or things of that sort. So one of the things you want to be careful of when you're using your computer. Now, I realize not everybody has an ESD mat or will want to get one. So a couple things, just when handling components, you'll definitely want to touch the side of the case and then also grab your hardware by the corners. So you're not necessarily grabbing anything by the processor, the meat and the brains of the component. For instance, even the same thing for RAM. You want to grab it kind of on the outside edge here. Now, like I said, we got to clean out our computer. Awesome. And I didn't do this beforehand because I like dust. Oh, also when you clean out your computer, you want to double check, you want to definitely clean the power supply because the power supply has always got stuff all in there. Oh, well, yeah, and one more thing, you want to do this in an open area, so maybe outside or something like that, or probably not outside, but somewhere where you got some decent airflow going on. Now, for instance, if we're going to be taking any parts out of our computer, 9 out of 10 times, about 99% of the time, we just use a standard Phillips screwdriver. Now, when I say standard Phillips screwdriver, I specifically mean not magnetic, because some of your components inside your computer work off magnetic, primarily the hard drive, where it's simply a magnetic disc that spins around, so you don't really want to demagnetize or ruin your hard drive with a strong screwdriver. Although, it hasn't necessarily really happened before, but it's a safe practice and you simply shouldn't use it. So, like for instance, if you wanted to unmount your hard drive, you just remove the screw right here. And, all right guys, one other thing. Now, when using your computer, when opening it up and working inside of it, you'll definitely want to be careful of the power supply, because the power supply and the monitor still hold power after the computer is completely unplugged. So keep note of those things, because if you slam your screwdriver in there and you're monkeying around, you could shock yourself and it will be lame. Alright guys, so just remember, when opening up your computer, you want to pay attention to your static. You don't want, best practice would be to have an anti-static mat and also ground yourself before touching your computer or grabbing a component. Also, grab the components from the edge, so you don't, like for instance, if I grabbed a video card, I want to grab it by the GPU in the middle. That'd be not smart. Now, same thing, grab components by the edge. Opening your case, more than likely you'll have 4 to 6 screws on the back. Depending on the manufacturer, you could have a couple pops and snaps and clicks more times than not, 6 to 4 screws on the back, slide off or slide up. And then you'll definitely want to have a non-magnetic screwdriver when using. So just remember guys, don't use a magnetic screwdriver. The power supply still has power. Even though it's unplugged, you'll definitely want to unplug your system. And make sure you don't shock into your components. So now that we've got this out of the way, let's dive in and install some components in our computer. Alright guys, and just a reminder, this video is one step in the process of elimination to finding out why your PC is running so slow. So if you just stumbled upon this video, you might want to go to step 1, and that will be in the description of this video. And remember guys, you can send any of your problems to me for viruses, spyware, and PC performance that I haven't covered in this series. Just send those to requests@mahalo.com, and remember, only you can prevent spyware, viruses, and all that bad stuff on the internet.